Hey, how's it going, guys? Today I'm checking out the BENEVE 10.31G, available for $100 on Amazon. So on the front, it says that it's running Android 7.0 Nougat out of the box, and it comes with a leather case inside, so that's kind of nice. On the back, you get the rest of the specs here: MT8163 quad-core processor, Android 7, a 10.1-inch IPS display, but it's a high resolution of 1920 by 1200. That's going to look pretty sharp. 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of internal storage, a front 2 megapixel and rear 5 megapixel camera, as well as a 5000 milliamp hour battery. Inside the box, you'll get the tablet itself. The rest of the stuff you get is a quick start guide, warranty card, and then a satisfied or not satisfied card to leave feedback, a micro USB to USB adapter, USB to wall outlet, a stylus, and a micro USB cable. And then you got the leather case here. I think it's interesting how they include a stylus inside. That's pretty nice. So this looks a lot similar to the Untab K17 if you guys have been following me, except this has a lot better specs and it's for around the same price. So on the side here we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, power button, volume keys, and then I want to say this is the reset button. It could be the microphone, but I'll find out. I'll put it in the description what it is exactly. A micro USB slot to recharge the tablet, and then on the back you have the micro SD card slot, which is up to 64 gigs it supports. And then you have the rear camera here, the 5 megapixel camera, and then interestingly enough you also have a flash here, so that's kind of nice to have. And then on the bottom you have the speakers here. I wonder if they emit from both sides. We'll definitely check that out in just a moment. Then there's really nothing else around it. On the front you have the front 2 megapixel camera and then the 1920 by 1200 display. Now of course this definitely feels sharp. It certainly looks nice, and it gets relatively bright, but this still isn't enough to use outside in sunlight. And it gets relatively dim too, so it's not bad at all. But I certainly do like the resolution, how sharp it looks. On the bottom you have the keys, the back button, home button, multitasking tray, and then you have the screenshot button as well. And because this is Android 7.0, you can also have multiple apps open at once with this button. You can have this as a pop-up window almost, or pin it, and we'll close that. There's only 2 gigs of RAM, so you're kind of limited to that. It'll probably lag a little bit here and there. We'll definitely take a look at it more in just a second. And then if we look at this, it is running Android 7.0, and then the storage space, there's about a little less than 11 gigs available. When you connect to Wi-Fi, it's probably going to be less than 11, because it's probably going to update some apps. Most likely that's what's going to happen. So I was testing the rear camera out inside my closet with the flash on, and it does have burst photo, but apparently it looks a little more purple when you have burst photo on. And this is without the burst photo. This is just taking one picture by itself. Of course it looks grainy and everything. I wasn't expecting too much, but you can kind of read that if the bag was positioned properly, you can kind of tell it's Bed Bath & Beyond. And then you can actually read the text on there, so that's actually impressive. But it does look like there's quite a bit of volume. And there's some other stuff here. So the focus on here isn't bad at all, and it takes the shots not too bad either. Now of course this isn't fully clear, but the text is still readable pretty well, I gotta say. And it's small text too on this box. This looks like it's just zoomed in. It just feels zoomed in with the camera. Alright, and then we got the front camera here. So we can see that it says Canon PowerShot ELPH 100HS really well. It did come out decently, better than other cameras I've seen, definitely better than the 1 megapixel or 0.3 megapixel camera we've seen in the past. But yeah, it's certainly enough to use for Skype or video calling in general. Another thing I do want to note is that it feels more smooth, like using the front camera or just looking at it. Like if I move around, it's not as laggy or buggy that we've seen in the past, so that's definitely a good thing. Looking at the Antutu benchmark, it got a score of around 40,000. Now I tested this out twice, and it stayed around 40,000. That's actually, like I said, that's relatively high, higher than what I expected. I was expecting around 30,000. And so it has a MT8163 processor like we showed before, a Mali T720 GPU. The Geekbench multi-score wasn't as high as I had expected, at least. Over here it says that, oh, it's the memory. I thought it was a clock speed, but it's just the RAM that's really available, 1.41. Of course it's around 1 gig after you sum up, with Android running and probably something else in the background. But nonetheless, it's got 500, score 561. Which is lower than the LG Nexus 5, and same with the multi-score, but it's near it. So if anything, benchmarks are one thing, but performance is another. So let's take a look at some stuff.
Some of you have subscribed to me because of the DZ09 watch. I'm actually not going to answer any further
further questions about that. So the videos are playing in 1080p. It looks pretty nice on a sharper screen, a bigger screen too. The speaker on the back is also alright, sounds tinny. It only really emits from this side, but if you cover it, you can still kind of hear it because it'll still kind of emit from here. So it's interesting. It makes it look like there's two speakers, but it seems like there's only one speaker grill. I'm pretty sure there's only one. The first game we're checking out here is Injustice 2. And it looks very slow and choppy. Like, actually, it's just frame rate drops, so it's not smooth. I wouldn't even say this is playable. Maybe to each his own, but, like, I just don't see it. If we do a power-up really quickly. Yeah, it's not smooth at all. But, if anything, I'm surprised that it still loads it up and you can still play it. What that tells me is that this can handle other lower-end games pretty well. Next game we're checking out here is... can't remember the name, actually. That's a funny thing, but it's loaded. It's working pretty well. It's a free game. Smash it, smash it. That's what I was trying to think of. And overall, everything runs pretty well. I haven't noticed frame rate drops or anything. Maybe very slight stuttering. It doesn't hinder the game performance whatsoever, in my opinion. But the next game we're checking out here is called Twisty Road. Now, this game runs pretty well, no problems whatsoever. It's also a free game on the Play Store. Yeah, maybe not perfectly smooth in frame rate, but still playable nonetheless. So multitasking actually surprisingly works relatively well. You can raise or lower it like this from the bottom if you want to expand it, and then you can read like an article on the side while you're watching the video. I think that's pretty convenient, and it's just talking about the Dow Jones. Everything seems to be running pretty smoothly. Now if I want to raise this, I go on from the bottom. It's like a little hard to figure it out, but once you do, you can just keep making it bigger or smaller. And that's what happens too sometimes. It's loading. Once it loads, it comes back for a split second. That's when you move it around like this. That's when it just kind of like fades away for a second or two. But other than that, when you're not moving it around, it works completely fine. You can go back on like Yahoo or something and search that up. But overall, I gotta say, this tablet runs really well for the price it is at $100. It's a nice upgrade. It has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, unlike the previous edition, which had a 4,000 milliamp hour battery that people were complaining about. That's what you'll see in the reviews if you click the link down below to check it out on Amazon. And yeah, most of the reviews are from the older generation, so the newer generation or newer version works pretty well, especially with Android 7, where you can multitask and everything. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the end of this video. What did you think? Have you guys seen a better tablet? So far, this seems like one of the best tablets to pick up so far in 2018. Leave a like if you found this video helpful, and subscribe if you want to see more. As always, thanks for watching.